Hello. Welcome in. We're just getting
مرحبا
everyone from the
بكم.
waiting room in. Um, and we will start in just a couple seconds.
سوف نبدأ بعد عدة ثواني.
Great. All right. Well, welcome everyone.
أهلا
My
وسهلا
name is
بكم.
Nicole Munson,
اسمي
and
نيكول
I am
ماتسون
the Operations and
وأنا
Programs Manager at
أنا
American
مديرة
Friends of Combatants for
المشروع
Peace. It's great to be with
لأصدقاء
all of you today.
من أمريكا للمقاتلين من أجل السلام، ومن سعيد أن أكون معكم اليوم.
Really quickly, Bess, I'm
Sorry,
hearing your
sorry.
translations in the English. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Combatants for Peace is a joint Israeli-Palestinian community working in solidarity to end the occupation, discrimination, and oppression. And we believe in a world where all people from the river to the sea live with peace and justice and dignity and liberty. The movement was founded about 20 years ago by Israeli and Palestinian fighters from opposing sides who chose to lay down their weapons and work together for peace and justice. They have been nominated 2 times for a Nobel Peace Prize. American Friends is the US support for the movement and makes up a diverse community that extends beyond borders to work for collective liberation in Palestine and Israel. And our talk today is called West Bank Update, Escalations of Violence and Terror. We will focus on what is happening in the West Bank since the start of the Iran war and really honestly before this as well. It's important to note that, there are still bombs being dropped in Lebanon and in various other places, despite the ceasefire with Iran. And although we're not speaking directly about the war or the ceasefire today, our speakers will discuss the worsening situation in the West Bank that is happening over the cover of this violence and war. So we invite our audience members to ask questions throughout. So if you want to ask a question, please send those in the chat to Lindsay. Her name is Send Questions here, so you can find her in the chat. And we will have translation today. So if you're speaking English, kindly select interpretation at the bottom of your screen and select the English room. You might find that under the 3 dots that say more at the bottom as well. And if you're speaking Arabic, kindly select the Arabic room. And I would like to introduce today the moderator for our talk, who is Jessica Neff. Jessica has a background in anthropology and political science and is an activist and transpersonal coach. Jessica works with asylum seekers and refugees in Switzerland and is engaged with the In Otrasenda Swiss Friends of CFP and European Friends of CFP. Her interests include decoloniality, systems change, and global justice. So thank you, Jessica, for facilitating our discussion today. And I will hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Can you hear me well?
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your words and introduction. Thank you for the invitation to moderate. It is a great honor tonight to be in the presence and in this conversation with these remarkable individuals, peace builders, activists, and speakers. I'm very, very grateful for all their work and hard dedication and what they're actually contributing to this world. It's a big honor for me. So I'm thankful very much, and I'd love to introduce the speakers, then go into questions, and then in the end, we will have the Q&A, as you mentioned. So I'd like to start with Mai Shahin. She is a peace activist and a co-founder of Satyam with over 12 years of expertise in conflict resolution, nonviolent communication, nonviolent resistance. She is also a therapist specializing in war trauma-focused therapy. She's based in Ezariya and navigating living in the challenges of the Area C and the separation wall in East Jerusalem, and she's doing this with grace and resilience. Mai is committed to fostering dialogue and healing, and her work goes beyond a personal dedication. She's making a substantial contribution to the broader mission of peace in Palestine and Israel. Then we have Iris Gur, who was born in Israel as a human rights activist and a former school principal. She's a mother of 3 adult children. In 2017, her 19-year-old daughter, Noah, was sent to military prison for refusing to serve in the Israeli army. Noah's dedication and decision was rooted in her commitment to pacifism and nonviolence. Determined to see the reality of Palestinian life under Israeli military rule for herself, Iris embarked on a journey of understanding. What she witnessed led her to join peace organizations such as Combatants for Peace and Jordan Valley activists. She is deeply committed to resisting the occupation and working towards a future of collective liberation, freedom, and justice for all people in the region. Then our next speaker will be Mahmoud Odeh. Mahmoud is I'm sorry, did I correctly pronounce this?
Yes,
Okay,
Mahmoud.
okay, thank you.
Mahmoud.
Mahmoud is a nonviolent peace activist with Satyam. He's a father and active community member. He has lost, unfortunately, many of his beloved family members to settler violence and continues to seek nonviolent activism to push back against the occupation. And our last speaker will be Sharona Weiss. She is a human rights activist and a photographer living in Jerusalem. She is the head of international advocacy of the Human Rights Defense Fund in cooperation with German organization Qusra. Qusra is one of the main organizations focusing on acting as legal safety for the individuals, grassroots movements, and marginalized communities, advocating for their rights in Israel, East Jerusalem, and the West Bank. So after this very impressive show of speakers, I'd love to start with Mai, if that's okay. And I'd love to ask you, Mai, if you could help us understand what reality right now is on the ground, if you can describe how daily life looks, what are your considerations, and what are you seeing firsthand in the community Satyam, and how is this different to the past?
Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be with all of you, especially in such difficult times that we are witnessing that's taking place in our continuous daily lives. I will start from, generally from the West Bank. Today, it's not only simply to say it's difficult, like the West Bank. It is a system of control that continues to what we can only call ethnic cleansing. Entire communities are being pushed off their lands through combination of state policies, settlers attack, like we can name so many strategies that is being used also by the organized Israeli settlers groups on the ground. We have been seeing such an escalation. We have never witnessed what is being now happening, taking place in the West Bank, as you will soon hear from Mahmoud live from Qusra, and what is happening. It's not only an individual incident, it is literally what is happening continuously all over the West Bank. Just 3 days ago, an elderly lady was beaten up until she was actually killed by a bunch of what we call the boys of the hills, those group young settlers. They are taking residencies everywhere, settling wherever they can, on mountains, in the lands of people. And through Satyam and the work in Satyam, we try and continue the joint work, continue to bring Palestinians and Israelis and international together. We work a lot on nonviolent communication, healing and grief, nonviolent resistance, and what does it mean? And then we come together with Combatants for Peace for taking action, which we believe is the way to true healing as well. So what we do is a combination of holding a healing space, community space, where people can come together, activists, Palestinians to meet Israelis, Jewish internationals through so many different programs. But then the other engagement is partnership all the time with Competence for Peace into taking these people from healing into leading the change that we want to see, making a difference, being a witness and documenting what is happening, but also bringing the struggle of our people in this land to be seen in many different ways using the tools of nonviolent resistance and communication. I hope I answered fully.
Thank you so much. Could you share a bit more how the situation has been? What have you noticed in the communities also now where you're working? You've dedicated for so long. Are there any things you noticed while the work and even in the healing space within your community that has shifted, has been different? What do you notice on yourself out of the last I think, very exhausting 3 years also during the genocide? What are you noticing? How are the people? How are yourself as well? Seems to have some technicality here.
I think we might have lost Mai due to a technical issue. Okay, I think Mai is back now. One moment.
I'm sorry. There was a loss of internet for some reason. Can you repeat the question again?
I'm happy to see you again. I was just asking about your long-standing work. You've been in so many projects. You've been in so much activism, and the world and as Palestinians have gone through such a unbelievable hardship, especially the last 3 years of genocide. How do you feel after this very exhausting time, and what do you notice in the community with your work? Is it the same? Has it changed? What are you observing? Mm-hmm.
It's definitely very different. I can recall the first call of the 7th of October that took place with Slimane al-Khatib. And I remember how it felt. I remember the understanding of that moment, that things are just different and even more difficult. And our whole conversation was about how do we walk the talk now, now when it's horrible, now when it's unbelievable, now when it's so big, and it continued to stay difficult. And I think through the pain and the grief and the suffering, to still be connected to a community, to still come together, to still work together, to still resist together and stand up together. This is the whole vision of competence, and it's the whole vision of Satyam Homeland, is to create a community within activism. This is the tomorrow we want to see. So the way we heal our pain and the way we grieve is actually through holding this process of activism, staying connected on the ground, taking as much action that we know to take, and we are learning to take even more. And you will soon also hear about the solidarity that we will start with Qusra. So there is pain, there is a grief, there is loss. And on the daily lives, like there is nothing to really even describe the enormous change that is taking place on the ground. Like, for example, all of the gates, only around between Satyam Homeland and Competence for Peace office is less than 5 minutes, literally. And only in these 5 minutes, there is 3 gates that were installed. Like only in that 5 minutes of area, there is 3 gates. So what also took place is separating the Palestinian community within, inside. Each village is separated from the next village. And this also contributes to the lack of families and communities coming together and supporting each other, which actually what kept us in such resistance. The connection we have as a community, as a society, the way we have learned to come together when things when things are escalating, and now we cannot do it anymore. I personally, I am separated from all of my family. I haven't seen my brothers in more than a year and a half that lives in Jerusalem, 10 minutes away from me. My own daughter, Aram, she lives in Jerusalem, 10 minutes away from me. I get to see her on the weekend when it's possible for her father to drive her to me because she holds the Jerusalem. I hold the Palestinian. So the complications are really in our daily life, and what we're trying to do through Satyam and Combatants for Peace is to bring nonviolent resistance and communication into staying grounded and with faith, connecting with the locals to both communities and showing them that even though the genocide, the occupation, the ethnic cleansing, the hostages, all of the horror and the violence, there is still hope, and there is still people that are standing, walking the talk, taking actions, and in solidarity. And we believe this is the only way to bring real justice and real freedom, real liberation. It is bigger than Israel and Palestine. It's all of us together. It's one of the chapter, one of the titles is the Israeli occupation. It is so connected to all of you guys in the countries that you also all come from, even what is now taking place is due to a lot of other countries that are not taking their responsibilities in weaponizing Israel and supporting the genocide and the ethnic cleansing and what is happening in Lebanon and in Iran. So, yeah, there is a lot to say.
Thank you so much. Hi.
And this is Selma.
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your deep and very, very wise words and very hard words. Did she disappear again?
No, I am here.
You're still here.
Thank you.
Oh, I can hear you. Okay. Thank you so very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your work. And thank you very much for sharing your observations. I'd like to dedicate the next question to Iris.
I'm here.
Hi, Iris. Wonderful to see you also again. It's always a pleasure to hear from your work and also your huge dedication. I was very curious to understand how has this rising violence also now in the West Bank influenced your ability for the protective presence for the work of nonviolence on the ground? And how are you able to show up safely and efficiently? And how are you able to even do this work and put this commitment into practice actually in this moment?
Thank you. First, before talking about protective presence, I want to say that as a member of Combatants for Peace, I want to promise my friend that no matter what, we should stay together and we should continue to be a non-violent activist and resistance. And as long as I can use my Israelis Jewish privilege, I will stay with my friends. And for example, we had a joint demonstration a few days ago in Bejala. I think it was an amazing one. We were like dozens of us together in Bejala. It's really near the office. And yes, it's a privilege. I can go there. May cannot go out, as she said, and other friends, Palestinian, they have no options. I have the ability to come over. So we came and we stand together, and I think it was really an amazing joint protest against the death penalty law that is now going on in Israel. And this is a death penalty only for Palestinian people, not for any terrorist or no matter what, only against Palestinian people. And it was also for demanding to free the Palestinian prisoners, including kids, children. There are hundreds children, Palestinian children under the age of 15 in the Israeli prison. And I think we are still together. So this is like one example that there are some things that we can still do together, and we will do it no matter what. And for your question, as May said, it's not only the increasing of violence. I'm a member of a group that is working in the north of Jordan Valley, trying to protect the communities, the Palestinian communities that are still there. There are still, for now, 11 little communities in the north of Jordan Valley. The south of Jordan Valley is empty. They really succeed to do an ethnic cleansing for full. And we are starting, but as one of my friends is saying, we are not doing any protective presence because it's impossible. We are working against the system, as May said. It's not an occasion violence. It's the system. It's the military and the police are working together with the settlers. It's a policy of the government. So it's very, very hard, and it's getting really impossible to do something. We are trying to protect a little bit. For example, yesterday in a community named Khamra in the north of Jordan Valley, there is a settler that his name is Moshe Sharvit. And he came and is really, to say a bad guy, it's like really to, it's not the right word. He's working with the soldiers, and he came yesterday afternoon to the community, and after he broke into the house, etc., and frightened the people, then he called the army, and he told them that a young boy was throwing stones. So the soldiers came, female soldiers, and they came and they arrest the child. He's 14 years old, and they took like handicap his hand and blind block his eyes, and because of the Israeli activists that saw him and filmed him, the soldiers, after an hour, they decided to release him. If there were not Israelis activists there, I'm sure he would have taken for a few hours, and then as usually they will throw him like somewhere. So just think about the kid, 14-year-old kid. And while I'm talking about it, I'm saying, wow, I'm happy that he was taken for 1 hour. So imagine what level of violence and terror the everyday life is in the Jordan Valley and the West Bank, against children, against women, against families, against elder people. And for last thing, I will say, it's getting very hard to even be there for us, because most of the communities are being deported to the area A and B, which we cannot go in. There are, as May said before, there are so many checkpoints and blockades on the way, so we cannot go there. The soldiers allowed only 2 settlers to go into A area and B area, and then we cannot, like, I cannot go there and cannot continue to give a little bit like solidarity or protection to Palestinian communities that are being deported from C area to A area. So this is the plan. It's not coincidence, it's a plan. And for last thing that I will say, that what I'm seeing every day in the Jordan Valley and in the West Bank, it's part of a big process that, I'm sorry to say, for me, it's like the Holocaust of the Palestinian people now. The plan is to close them in 6 or 8 cities, as May is now in the Jala or whatever, and she cannot go out from there. So I'm very sorry, because I know that our Jewish people hearing me now, but I must say it because I cannot be silent while I'm saying what is going on. So you should know what is going on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm curious, how do you manage to even, I don't know, plan in these circumstances? I mean, it has always been terrible with protective presence. It has always been terrible with the settler violence. But how do you even coordinate, and how do you find people to even willing to take this risk nowadays? And how do you yourself like ensure the safety of people right now when there is so little?
You cannot ensure the safety of people. I'm speaking with you now, and this morning, like a few hours from now, I will go to the Jordan Valley with friends. We will be tomorrow in the shift. We will go to 24 hours shift. We will be like 12 people trying to go around and protect some communities. To tell you that I'm not afraid. Since the last pogrom, like few weeks ago, there was a big pogrom that everybody heard about in Homsa, and it was all over the news because it was really like a terror movie. I don't know what. So to tell you the truth, yes, I'm a little bit afraid, but still, I'm really privileged. Elder Jewish white woman with an Israeli ID. I'm still privileged, but yes, it's so I have my a little bit my way to protect myself. But I'm happy to say that in the last few weeks we have more and more activists that are willing to come, and
Really?
Israelis, and yeah. So people when people hear about what is going on, and they're coming, they're not afraid, they're coming. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing from your work. I'd love to ask Mahmoud. Get you on the screen. And I had to get you unmuted. Thank you so much, Mahmoud. Thank you for taking your time. I'm very happy to meet you. I was very curious to hear if you'd be willing to share a little bit about your life, where you grew up, where you were born, and as you live in the village of Qusra, I would love to hear if you're okay to sharing how is life living in Qusra at the moment, what has been happening, how are the people, how are you, and how is it living under the occupation, under these circumstances right now?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام
By
عليكم
the name
ورحمة
of
الله
God,
جميعا.
may peace be upon you all.
أولا الحديث عن هذا الموضوع صعب
First,
جدا
to speak about this is very difficult because it happened more than once with me, but you have to know about it. I am Mahmoud Odeh from I was born in 1995 and I worked as a chef. It was not work, it was also a space to express my passion and to make others happy. And I'm father for four, and I do everything for my children to make this world more peaceful and more merciful. I live in a village, and before going to the Dead Sea to work in that area, at that time, the experience was a shifting point. I was introduced to EcoMe, and then I went to work with Satyam, and these experiences opened new horizons for me and how the communication with people. And now I'm trying to find peaceful means for people to live away from hatred. This became my message that I live daily, especially as I lost the most important thing to me, which is my brother. And this did not break me, but reshaped my vision and made me more determined so that no one else will experience the pain and suffering I went through. So I try to plant hope in the heart of everyone and to call for peace and humanity. I write to you from the heart of pain, from a village north of Nablus, where fear is not a coincidence. It's a daily life that really makes our life very heavy and difficult. We experience daily attacks and siege that by checkpoints that really disconnect us and deprive us from all our rights, especially to access healthcare services and the lack of medical services. And this makes any injury like a death sentence. From October in 2023, I lost my brother Muad. He was not only a brother, he was my support, my closest friend. He was killed in cold blood when he was trying to save an injured child from his family. He was not holding a weapon, he was holding his wounded child. We waited the ambulance for 35 minutes, where every minute was important for it's a life and death. And when the ambulance came, still the checkpoints obstructed our movement, and it's the hospital was only 24 kilometers away, but the journey took a lot of time, and I lost my brother in the ambulance. And then my family also lost five of young people. They were killed, and that was not the beginning, the end of the suffering. It was the beginning. We lived this same suffering again. I lost 3 weeks ago my cousin. And I felt the same pain again. Our village today lives under constant threats, attacks against civilians, closed roads, medical center that lacks the simplest means of life and medication. We are just asking for basic human rights, like the right to life, right to protection, and access to medical care. And we call upon you, we appeal to you urgently to intervene to protect the civilians, to have access for the ambulances to access hospitals, and to allow us to go through the checkpoints in emergency cases, and to support the medical center with medications so that we meet the basic needs. This appeal is this is like what we are experiencing daily, and I talk about it with pain and suffering, and with all what we lost. We still believe in humanity and in protecting lives. I hope that you will be the voice of the voiceless, and to help in stopping this bleeding, continuous bleeding and suffering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud, for sharing. I am so deeply sorry for your loss, and my dearest condolences for you and your family. I hope your family is safe. I hope this violence ends, and I'm horrified to hear of what you have gone through. And thank you for taking the courage and sharing this with us. And if it's okay with everyone, I would like to pause for just a little moment to just also let this sink in, what Mahmoud has shared so heartfully, and which is also hard to share, and also want to be able to receive it with a full heart, if that's okay. Thank you for the moment. Is Mahmoud still in the space?
نعم.
Okay.
Yes, he's with us.
He's still with us? Yes. Were you able also to translate from English to Arabic?
I do it both ways.
Both ways, okay. Are you okay with the speed also?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to ask also Mahmoud, how is he? How are you navigating you shared about being able to be part of the Satyam community, and how are you navigating the personal loss and the personal threat of safety, and then still being an active community member and still dealing with your own community. How is their psychological well-being right now, and how are you able to hold that at times?
محمود، في
أول
ترجمة حبيبي، أنت حاطط على الترجمة؟
حاطط.
أوكي.
أول إشي صعب جدا، يعني مش
First,
بالسهل إنه
this
الواحد
is very difficult.
يتعامل مع
It's not
الإشي هذا،
easy
أو
to
مع
deal
مع الفقد أو مع الخسارة هاي.
with loss of
يعني أنت
family
خسرت، أنا
members.
أخذ
I
أعز ما
lost
تملك،
my brother. He's very
ولكن الحمد لله
close
رب
friend of
العالمين
mine.
إنه
He's
نحن
like,
نؤمن بالله
but
تعالى
thank
وبقدره
God, we
وبقضائه.
always believe in God's destiny, and
صراحة صعب جدا التكلم عن هذا الأمر،
it's really very hard for me to speak about it.
ولكن
But
أنا أحاول أن أذهب إلى طرق التواصل اللاعنفي
I try
لكي لا
to
يشعر أحد
stick
آخر
to
بما أشعر به،
non-violence means
لأن
so
هذا
that
صعب جدا.
I don't
هذا
want
صعب
anyone
جدا.
else
لا
to
أريد
feel
أن
what I'm
يخسر أي شخص
feeling.
في البلدة
I
أو
don't want
أي شخص
anyone
بشكل
to,
عام،
in
أبدا
general,
ينبسط هو.
anyone to suffer what I have suffered, to have the
وكانت
same
بدايتي
loss
مع
that I
إيكومي،
experienced. And my beginning with
مؤسسة
my
إيكومي،
ECOME institution,
والآن مع ساتيام،
and now with
ونحاول الآن
Satyam.
العمل في
And
قرية
I
تونس
try now to work in
على
my
التعاون
community to have more cooperation among people,
والعنف طبعا
and
والسلمي،
of course to work together on
ونحاول إيجاد طرق
non-violence means, and to find methods and
للتعايش والسلم
ways for coexistence and peaceful coexistence.
وشكرا لكم.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud, and thank you for taking that very big courage. And I'm sure sharing this must be also painful, and taking also that to share with the people to understand. And people are writing in the chat that they're making prayers for your brother, and I hope that your family can also have all the support they have and they need in this moment, and for this very, very painful situation. And also, as every life, I think, and every loss is a universe, I'm very glad that we do have the ceremony where will never be enough to dedicate to the loss of our family members, but where I'm glad that at least there will be more space that can be dedicated more justifiably and deeper. So thank you very much for sharing, and thank you for taking the courage and coming here. I'd like to go to our next speaker, Sharona.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for also joining. I would, as you're working in the human rights field, I would be very curious for you to hear what are your facts and figures? What is your work? What is your everyday challenges? And what are you able to observe from your professional standpoint now, and observing the worsening violence in the West Bank?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Mahmoud, for sharing your personal experience. It's hard to launch into facts and the legal situation after such a heart-wrenching personal account. But I do hope that it will show that stories like Mahmoud's are not rare by any means, but are rather part of a systematic, and widespread phenomenon that, as Mai mentioned, is considered by most human rights organizations as ethnic cleansing, that threshold has been reached. As Jessica said, I'm with the Human Rights Defenders Fund in a position that's in cooperation with Corvée Woostro. And Human Rights Defenders Fund is the main legal safety net for Palestinian land rights defenders and community organizers, and the Israeli and international activists and human rights defenders who are in solidarity with them. As part of this, we operate a 24/7 hotline that people can turn to when an incident happens involving someone from these groups. And over the years, the great majority of these incidents now involve settler violence. We just recently were looking at the numbers of people who've called into the hotline recently, and realized that over the past 3 years, we now have 5 times the number of calls than we had at the same time this year, only 3 or 4 years ago. And most of those involve, to some degree or another, settler violence. Also, you have to understand that this is being coordinated at all levels. Settlers with the army, the police, the legal system, it's all part of a systematic plan that is widespread, as I said, and it's state policy, and it is violence of the state. And to give some history and background, after October 7th, because of the deployment of soldiers to Gaza, the army decided to form these special defense units called Hagmar units that are composed of settlers. They were to protect the settlers since the army no longer had the capacity to do so. In doing so, they equipped some of the most violent settlers with military-grade weapons, some of which, by the way, come straight from the US. In addition, the notoriously violent Netze Yehuda Battalion, which even the US has considered sanctioning under the Lehi law, was given far more reign over the West Bank. So this battalion also consists to a great degree of settlers. Under this context, the settler violence in the past couple of years has not only increased in scope, but it's also increased in the degree of lethality, with the line between settlers and soldiers largely blurred, as settlers in uniform coordinate pogroms with their neighbors in illegal outposts, and all with the backing of the state. We recently gathered data on incidents reported to our hotline that involve unlawful abductions of Palestinians, which essentially means that the army or settlers, usually both together, simply take a Palestinian extrajudicially in what some would call abductions, usually to a military area or to a settlement, but never reporting it to a police station or to the police. And usually these cases involve extreme violence, and then they simply release them several hours later. Between November 16th of last year until the end of February of this year, 89 of the incidents were reported just to our hotline. And keep in mind, these aren't all the incidents in the West Bank, and not even close. In February alone, we had 46 incidents reported to us. And out of the 89, 60 involved settler attacks, and 13 involved very clear settler military militias acting in coordination. One example of one of these cases, settlers arrived in a town called Gwain and aggressively demanded ownership documents from Palestinian residents and passports from international activists. The owner of a nearby outpost, who's a pretty notorious settler, arrived in an ATV and with soldiers' assistance had Palestinians' hands bound with zip ties before taking them to his outpost, where they reported severe abuse and violence. They were then simply released a few hours later. Only a month later, settlers then came to a Palestinian family's home in Susia as they were eating dinner and called soldiers, who then took 2 young men from inside the home and then also took 2 bystanders who were attempting to help. Soldiers and settlers proceeded to beat all 4 men, blindfolded them, and then drove away with them. They were simply released a few hours later, and it was never brought to a police station or anything. According to recent data by the human rights organization Yesh Din, 30 incidents of organized mass violence were perpetrated in the West Bank, pogroms basically, between 2023 and November 2025. So that doesn't include the most recent months. But in at least 16 of these, soldiers and police were present or participating. And I also want to stress that this is not limited to Area C by any means. Many of these attacks are also happening now in areas A and B, and settlers are establishing new outposts in these areas. For instance, there's an area called the Atuf Valley in the Jordan Valley. Part of the valley borders Tamun and part borders Tubas. I was in the part bordering Tamun 2 weeks ago, the day after an outpost was demolished, which was in Area A. Settlers then went on a rampage, violently attacking Palestinians and vowing to return with backup. And the problem is they can. That entire area is seeing tons of outposts pop up, and the state now has a Crimson Thread plan, which will cut Palestinians off from 60,000 dunams of land in the area. essentially rewarding these violent settlers who are acting with impunity and forcibly displacing many communities. And this is a pattern we're seeing over and over. It's the same with the E1 plan near Jerusalem. And let me just say on one more point that when Palestinians and those in solidarity with them, even Israelis, seek remedy for harm from these settlers, including some of the most grievously violent attacks, it's almost guaranteed there will be no remedy and that the settlers can enjoy complete impunity. A person files a complaint with the police and they enter into a labyrinth of a system that's completely working to deflect and to aid the settlers. We've had several incidents lately of Israelis who were doing protective presence with Palestinians and experiencing horrific attacks by settlers. Attacks that had witnesses, they were documented fully, some with the settlers' faces even fully present in the documentation. But yet, when they filed complaints with the police, very predictably, investigations are closed within a month, never even requesting witness statements or documentation. In two recent cases, there were even stolen electronics that were identified and pinged from nearby outposts, and the police never even acted on this. Then the complainants are usually told only months later that their investigations were closed, and which the police try to use then to say that too much time has now passed, and the investigation material, it's no longer good. We appeal these closures time and time again, and even had a recent High Court petition result in the justices acknowledging that this is a systemic issue, but they still failed to provide any remedy. And I'll just end by noting that Article 7 of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court says if settler violence is proven to be widespread or systematic and directed against a civilian population, or it doesn't say settler violence, but if violence is directed against a civilian population, it can constitute crimes against humanity, particularly if it's pursuant or in furtherance of a state or organizational policy, which can even include just the mere tolerance or encouragement of such violence by state authorities. This also creates a coercive environment, which is leading to forcible transfer of populations. And that is explicitly listed as a crime against humanity. So with that in mind, I'll stop there, but I think it's important to note all of that.
Thank you so much. That was a very important overview, especially in Europe, the media doesn't always show and portray what is actually happening. It's sometimes hard to actually have an oversight. So thank you so much. We're a bit on time, but if I still can, I'd love to ask you how do you direct, like with your advocacy, do you direct that more towards foreign countries, or are you more addressing to advocacy within Israel? And like, where do you direct it? And then how do you feel about documentation and the importance of that? And where do you need to direct the attention?
Yeah. So for me, my position is not directing it within Israel. There are people who do that, and so, but that's not my position is international advocacy. But I will say, even though I'm an American, the U.S. right now is not it's not a amenable place to be doing advocacy. So most of the advocacy is directed towards European states. However, in general, all of the states are complicit, and right now, it's very challenging to get any state to move or to draw red lines. Usually, what we see are very weak statements. So right now, one of the, for instance, we're trying to see if the EU will review the EU Associations Agreement, because that would be a tangible thing that can be done. I think for the US, to look at the Leahy laws and to continue to push for those to actually be enacted, and for sanctions on specific settlers, on army units, things like this. That's also something that can be a tangible ask. But right now, it is a challenging environment to be doing that international advocacy for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your really, really fascinating responses as well. Thank you for your work, and thank you for sharing. I'd like to switch quickly to Mai and Iris. one more time. We're a bit short on the time. And Mai, I'm very curious. What can you say about working within so much fear and uncertainty? And I know I saw you last year. You were even fasting, and you've been on all fronts, and you're screaming at policemen, and you're working in trauma, and you're working in communities. How do you see that your work is making a difference? And do you have any moments where you could share of an impact, or how do you keep committed to joint nonviolent action and to this path?
Thank you. Well, through the community that Mahmoud shared about, the ICOMI community, of which I came to know about all this joint work 14 years ago, that community taught me what I am doing today. And it taught me what I am doing today in living it together with them for 8 years. And it kept my faith, and it kept my resilience. And it taught me a lot about the narrative that I did not know before. I only met Israelis on checkpoints before that. As a child, beaten up, restricted, taken to not what like something we call the mascopia, for example, where they will put us there for hours until our parents will come to pick us up. I was very much involved in the what I would now call violent resistance. And this 14 years has brought my family to such a different place now in life. It affected all of my family. My brother is married to a Jewish Israeli. They have kids. My other brother is married to a Jewish Israeli. They have kids. The blood of the family, the kids in the family, the grandkids of the family are Palestinians, Jewish Israelis, and now one of them lives in Germany. For the irony, he and his wife, a Palestinian and Israeli, felt safer to take their kids to Germany. And I remember the moment they told me, I told them, if you can now choose Germany as a place that is safe to raise kids, then my faith that what we are seeing now, will it change? If now there is safety for you in Germany where the Holocaust took place, if your wife now is telling me that this is where she wants to raise her kids, if this is where you're going for peacefulness and to find a place for your freedom after being in jail and after what we suffered, then I cannot not see it happen to my homeland. I cannot not hold this faith. Community and being part of this activism, being in joint work all of these years and joining the Combatants for Peace right after the 7th of October as a member, and then co-founding Satyam Homeland as a community center in Beit Jala has only came from what I have been witnessing of a change and difference making that this work has brought. We see it in our own communities. We see it in Qusra, that even though with everything that is taking place, they still call on us and hold on us and come together in nonviolent resistance because of one family that saw what it means. Muad, who was killed by the settlers, was with us in Germany. He joined one of the programs that we led in Germany. They were part of ICOMI. And because we witness, we stand up and we see, because we saw Jewish Israelis that stood up against the occupation and the genocide and the ethnic cleansing. And we see internationals that continues to come and to empower us. And the work that we do, like Iris said, for example, the protest we did a few days ago with Competence in Beit Jala, it shows the power that nonviolent resistance can bring and can form when people come together believing and trusting in it. So again, with all of the pain and the suffering that we see and go through and acknowledge, and the genocide and the suffering in other places, I have a need to continue mentioning it in other places, what's taking place in Lebanon, what's taking place in Iran, what's taking place in Yemen, in many other countries is heartbreaking. It brings us to our knees, and yet nonviolent resistance and community, the work that we do, this exact community that you're now part of, is what keeps us going. What brings faith and empowers us to continue learning in new tools and to continue leading a difference of tomorrow, to stand with Qusra people and to show them, just like we did for other communities, that yes, when we come together, when the truth comes together, when we stand up for real justice in togetherness, not denying each other, not denying, but acknowledging each other, then this is the way for change. This is the way for real liberation. This is when the oppressed will not become the oppressor again. Acknowledging the narrative, healing the trauma, holding the grief, and then resisting and standing up and taking action. This is what keeps hope. This is what keeps faith. This is what keeps us coming again and again and asking you to join, to come, to empower, to also have faith. So from the land, I also wish to give our faith and hope and resistance to all of you and to honor you because you are big part, you are big reason to why we are able to louder our voice and roar for liberation and stand up taking action within our land, within our communities, together with our families, Muslims, Christians, and Jewish, Israelis, and Palestinians, each to their truth, each to their narrative. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so very much for these very deep and very wise words. I would like to give us all a moment to take a deep breath and really just savor also everything you shared and let that also a moment be with us because it was very, very deep. That's okay to take a moment to what depth and wisdom and strength and courage and so many qualities are in this conversation. Thank you so very much, Mai. Thank you very much. I'll pass on to Iris. Thank you so much. Iris, also, I'm sorry, time, we're a bit running. Last question for this evening to you would be, what can people of the international community do to support the communities in the West Bank? What can the West do? What can the international community, what needs to be done? What do need the people to hear? Please share what you think on this topic.
So first of all, thank you very much. As you heard, Mahmoud and May, you can understand that with friends and colleagues and partners like them, you cannot choose another way. We have hope together. And thank you, my friends, Mahmoud and May. Thank you for being with such a compassion and still with hope. And I have tears in my eyes, so I will continue. Yeah, there is a lot to do. So please take a note now. Or first of all, you have to tell everyone that you know, your friends, your family, your colleagues, journalists that you know, members of the parliament in your country, everyone that you know, tell them that you heard today what you heard about everything. And you please ask them first to be aware and to know and to tell the world what is going on here. As Sharona talked about it, really amazing. And demand. You have to demand sanctions against the Israeli government, against the settlers' leaders, against Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, and Netanyahu, who is letting them doing what they are doing. Demand to free the children, the prisoners' children in the Israeli prison. As Sharona said, everything. It's crimes against humanity. And you should say it loud and clear what is going on and demand to stop it right now. And as long you are telling them, invite them to watch the joint memorial ceremony. In the 20th of April, we have the Combatants for Peace joint memorial ceremony. And we have in the 15th of May, the joint memorial Nakba. And I think it's important to tell people that it is not only this horrible thing that you should know about, but you should know that there is another way, the way of our joint way, the combatants for peace. I think combatants for peace is showing like more than 20 years now that there is another way to live here between the river and the sea. We are showing the world that it is possible to live together. It is possible to work together. It is possible to live a non-violent life and to resist with non-violent actions against the occupations, against the apartheid, against the terror attacks, and to demand normal life because we all deserve it. We are 14 million people here between the river and the sea, and 7 million Palestinians, 7 million Jewish people. We deserve normal life, and we can do it. So please, so in one hand, tell the world what is going on here with the horrible, terrible things like as I said, the Holocaust of the Palestinian people by the Jewish government. And on the other hand, there is another way, there is a hope, as May said, and we will not lose hope. So join us together. And another thing, I'm really sorry to speak about money, but we cannot do what we are doing without the financial support. I can share with you that to going tomorrow with my old car to the Jordan Valley, it's very hard. We need like 4 wheels car to beat those settlers with what they got from the government. And come to the land. Don't be afraid. Come to the land. See by yourself. Be supportive. Um, come see with your eyes and feel with your body what is going on here. I think it's very important to come and to bring solidarity. So come. Thank you. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Iris, also for your words. We got everything noted. Thank you very much.
Jessica, Mahmoud wanted to add something before we
Please.
finish. Mahmoud
Please.
حبيبي احكي.
تمام. أنا بدي أطلب من الجميع يعني
I just want to ask, I want to say two things. We love to live in peace, in harmony, like the others. What's happening is terrorism. It's crime. It's a crime. I want to add to what I said. When they assassinated and killed my cousin, his father was there, who's my uncle. He tried to protect him, and he threw himself on him to protect him from death. So they came with knives and started to stab him in his leg, in his back, and now he lost the ability to move. He can't walk, and I stay awake till 5 o'clock so that my kids will be able to sleep, especially when now with the sirens and the rockets from Iran, the settlers opened a road and they confiscated our land. So we are worried about the settlers' attack. So I stay awake so my son can sleep, because my son comes to me and is like, Dad, there are shelling, there are missiles, Dad, the settlers are coming, the roads are closed. So I work now in a restaurant in the village. When I go home, I have to jump over the wall so that I can access. I go through the mountains, I jump over the wall, the separation wall, so that just to access my house, and I can document that to you. It happens daily, the invasions by the army and the settlers, who are also dressed like an army, and they invade the village. So I can document that to you directly. But what we want really, we want to live in peace. We want to live in dignity, in quiet, in like the rest of the people. We're not asking for more. And thank you for all what you're doing. Thank you for being here and listening to us.
Thank you very much, Mahmoud. Thank you very much for your words. We will go to the few last questions of the Q&A that people have asked. One of them was if our guests have any thoughts of value of a U.S. citizen joining in protective presence. Maybe that's a question to Iris, maybe also other. How valuable is a U.S. citizenship within protective presence?
You mean if international people can come from abroad? Yes, of course. Yes, there is a group of international protective presence, and I don't remember how to get there, but I can find it and yeah, to have connection. Yes, it's possible. Yes, sure, come.
Thank you so much. Mhm.
Yeah, there are quite a few groups actually of especially like American Jewish groups that come and do protective presence alongside Palestinians. So there's Ahvat Damim, there's also Center for Jewish Nonviolence. There are several other initiatives, UCPI, which I forget entirely what the letters stand for, but Civilian Presence in Palestine. Faza. So there are a few different ways that people can, but you do need to be aware that there is a targeting. We're seeing an increase in deportations of people who do protective presence alongside Palestinians. So just to be aware of the risk.
Thank you so much. I'll keep you, Sharon, if that's okay. There's another question about how do they rig the trials to get a 99% conviction rate in the West Bank? How does that work with those military courts?
With the military courts?
Yeah, and the 99% conviction rate, how does that work? Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, usually a lot of the Palestinians are assumed guilty before they don't. There's no like needing to prove their guilt. The army says that they did something. It's usually taken as fact, as opposed to settlers who there's actually almost, according to Yesh Din, only 96% of cases of ideologically motivated offenses that settlers commit result in any indictment. So you see the disparity there. Settlers are almost never convicted. Palestinians are almost always convicted. And for us, we work in both the military and the civil courts. So we do defend Palestinians in the military courts, and we actually do have positive outcomes. But you have to remember that a positive outcome often still involves a plea bargain or involves dropping of some charges, but a lot of times it's very difficult to get everything dropped. Also, we're seeing an increase in the targeting of Palestinians for administrative detention. So this is very concerning because if you don't know much about administrative detention, it's based on secret evidence that Palestinians cannot even challenge. So there's no, even their lawyer, like, cannot see that evidence. So we currently are representing 3 different cases of Palestinian community organizers who are being held in administrative detention. And there even in 2 of them, there was even an admission that they were not ever involved in militant activities, but they were still arrested. They're held for months without being able to challenge their detention, and it can be renewed just continuously every 6 months. So it's a huge violation of human rights, particularly when targeting human rights defenders and community organizers.
Thank you so much. There's, I think, one more question that might be also something for you. It's concerning about U.S. legislators. So it's the Union for Reform Judaism is trying to build support in the West Bank. So in the Violence Prevention Act, and this person is curious to figure out which legislation could be helpful. What would you need from U.S. legislators? For example, like sanctioning and freezing assets of violent settlers. Is that effective? Is there anything else on the U.S. legislative basis that you would find valuable?
So the sanctions, yes, when actually I'm not a huge fan of Biden. I don't think he actually did very much either, but one of the few things he did do was to put sanctions on several very violent settlers, and it had a direct effect. We saw that I mean, I was not at HRDF at that time, but basically the settlers, they knew that there was a line. And from what I understand, like for instance, Inon Levy was one of the settlers who was sanctioned. And he wasn't out committing as many offenses after the sanctions were placed. And let's note that once Trump revoked those sanctions. Inon Levy went and he killed a Palestinian that was very well known to many of us and very dear, Odeh Hatharin. He also, even since then, has been roaming freely, committing even further violent acts. Also, there are several others who are just notorious settlers who were on the list. They were either about to, there was a risk that they were going to be sanctioned, or they were, and now they're all able to act with impunity. So it does have an impact. So I would say that's something to push for. You can also look up the Leahy Law, which is the one I mentioned that um, was created in the 1990s and basically says that all U.S. military aid there have to be assurances that it's not being used to commit human rights violations, which obviously is not the case with Israel. So I think that that's something that can be brought up.
Thank you so much. That was the end of the Q&A. As we're shortening to the end, I want to say thank you very much. It has been a very big honor to listen and learn from you and be in this space, receiving as much wisdom and knowledge and experience. And I really feel how you all have shared how this really waves us into a deeper net of humanity, and the strength and the experience that you're just drawing is very great and very grandeur. So I feel very humbled and very honored and thankful to have been part of this space. And I wish your families to be safe and you guys to be safe in your work and everyday life. May you be protected always and guided. And yes, please, I think everybody wants to hear what the West can do, what people can do, how they can support, where they can take part. So thank you very much for everything you do in your work. And I'll hand it over back to Nicole. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jessica, for moderating this conversation. And thank you, Mai, Iris, Mahmoud, and Sharona for joining us today to share your personal stories, your experiences in the land, and some helpful facts for us as we're, hearing from all of you what's going on in the West Bank. And I also want to say thank you so much to Bassem for your wonderful translations today. We really appreciate you. I will say, just to close us out, you're welcome. Just to close us out, amid the ongoing violence, loss, and the ways that the occupation strips people of their livelihoods, homes, and lives, it's more important now than ever to deepen our compassion and our awareness and our shared commitment to humanity. And the joint memorial, which we've talked about at several points in our call today, is a space where we can come together in that spirit to grieve collectively and to recognize the profound human cost of this reality for all people, Palestinians and Israelis living between the river and the sea. And much of what's happening in the West Bank, as we've talked about today, remains unseen by the wider world. And the joint memorial ceremony is not only a space for remembrance, but also a way to raise awareness, to bring more people into connection with the joint movements and with the lived experiences of Palestinians facing daily hardship, as you heard about today. So amplifying the ceremony, we can expand that circle of awareness, helping others understand what is happening on the ground and inspiring greater global engagement and efforts to end the occupation and the ongoing violence. So we really encourage you all to participate. It will be shown online. If there's a satellite screening near you, go in person, meet other people. The link to register should be in the chat. And I also want to just note that if you're on our mailing list, you will receive information also about the joint Nakba Remembrance Ceremony that's coming up on May 15th as well. So just keep an eye out for that. Thank you all so much for joining us today and listening and being present. We hope that you can join us for the ceremonies, advocate to your representatives, and we appreciate you all being here today. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.